Hey everyone, it's me, Caitlin, and welcome back to another video. Today we are making one of my favorite comfort foods, pasta. There's just something about it, you know? It's hearty, it's chewy, it's satisfying, and it's basically flavorless, so you can modify it and make it a million different ways of tasty. Well, today I'm gonna show you 3 ways to make it tasty, and we're making one pot pasta, so not only is it delicious, but it's also convenient. I have 3 different flavor variations to share with you, and I guarantee you're gonna love at least one of them. I personally love all 3 and think you should try all 3 out. Before we get into the video, I do have one quick equipment note. You can make any of these pastas in a pot, as you'll see in the video. I personally prefer to use a pan, so I'll link this pan that I have down below. I like it because the edges are deep enough so I can boil pasta in it, but because it has a wider surface area on the bottom, I'm able to cook my pasta faster, which we all know less time in the kitchen generally equals a happier me. Anyone, I'm pretty sure. Who wants to spend more time in the kitchen when they could easily spend less? Anyways, if you have a pan like this, as long as the sides are deep enough, I highly recommend using this instead of a pot, but you do you. All right, let's get into the recipes. First up, we're going to be making a vegan spinach and artichoke pasta. This is basically like spinach artichoke dip, but turned into a pasta, which is totally delicious. So we're going to start out by warming some olive oil in a pan. Then we'll add our aromatics, which is some crushed garlic, black pepper, and red chili flakes. You're going to stir this for about 1 to 2 minutes until the garlic becomes slightly golden and aromatic. And then we'll add in our canned artichokes. I'm using quartered ones, plus some nutritional yeast, and give this another saute for a few minutes just to bring out the flavor of the nutritional yeast and get the edges of some of the artichokes just a little bit crispy. Then we'll go ahead and add in our pasta. You can use any shape you'd like, but I recommend using shorter shapes because they fall apart less. And then as you can see, you're just going to add some vegetable broth and give everything a good stir. So then we're going to bring this to a boil, stirring occasionally, and continue to cook this down until the pasta becomes fully tender to your liking. Typically, if you look at the package instructions of your pasta, it's toward the longer end of the cook time. So this is what the pasta looks like once it's fully cooked. You'll see there's still a little bit of sauce left. And now what we're going to do is add some vegan cashew butter to the sauce along with a little bit of lemon juice and stir this well until the cashew butter sort of dissolves into the sauce. It helps to thicken the sauce and you're left with a vegan Alfredo of sorts. And then last but certainly not least, it is a spinach and artichoke pasta. So you're going to keep the heat on low and stir in some baby spinach until it's nice and wilted like so. I honestly love the combination of flavors. The cashew butter makes the sauce nice and creamy, but the artichokes and lemon juice add a nice tang to it as well. Very reminiscent of, like I said earlier, your favorite dip. So then you're going to go ahead and transfer this into serving bowls and then dig in and enjoy. If you want to add more protein to this, you could totally fold in some chickpeas as the last step of the pasta as well. And then here I like a little bit of extra spice, so I topped my pasta off with some crushed red pepper flakes. And now for a glamorous bite shot, look how good that looks. Next up, we're going to be making a buffalo ranch pasta. So this is inspired by like chicken buffalo dip, but obviously we're making it vegan, and I thought it would be fun to add some vegan chicken as well to up the protein content and make this recipe even more hearty. So to start out, we're going to melt some vegan butter in a pan. You can also use olive oil if you want. And then once the butter is melted and starting to bubble, you can go ahead and add in your vegan chicken. I'm using a Cajun spiced vegan chicken by Daring Foods, not sponsored, but you can really use anything. You could use soy curls here. You could even use tofu if you wanted, or like a Gardein chicken substitute. You're just going to saute it in the pan until it's golden on both sides. And then so this doesn't get totally soggy and maintains some crispy factor, we're going to go ahead and remove this from the pan, and then we'll just add it in at the end when we cook our pasta. Then we're going to melt just a little bit more vegan butter in the pan. No need to completely wipe it out or anything. And then we'll add our aromatics, saute that garlic until it's nice and fragrant. And then most ranch seasoning mixes will have buttermilk powder in them, so it's just easier to make our own. So we're going to use a combination of onion powder and then dried dill and dried parsley. You can add that to the pan, and we're also adding some nutritional yeast to give this pasta even more of a cheesy, sort of ranchy flavor. So we'll toast the spices for about a minute or 2, and then like the other recipe, you're going to add in your dry pasta, and this time we're just adding water because we're also going to be adding a buffalo sauce, which is pretty salty, and honestly I wouldn't say it's too hot. After it mixes with everything, I would say this is like a medium heat. If you're super sensitive to spice, you might want to stay away from this one, but I personally find it totally delicious. So same process here. You're going to simmer the pasta down until the sauce looks a little something like this. And then you can choose to thicken your pasta using either vegan cream cheese or cashew butter, like I'm using again here. I will say I tested this recipe using vegan cream cheese, and because the vegan cream cheese is more coconut oil based, the sauce doesn't get as opaque, but it still tastes delicious and creamy. It's just personal preference, I guess. And then obviously we're adding in our vegan chicken, and then you can just stir everything until it's nice and combined. My favorite way to serve this is topped off with some fresh herbs, because as you can see, this recipe is a little orangey brown, which brown foods are still delicious, but I just love the pop of green that the fresh herbs give to this recipe. So then it's time to dig in and enjoy. This recipe is the perfect combination of tangy, slightly spicy, and creamy. And I love the texture of the hearty noodles mixed with like the crispy edges of the chicken. It's just really, really delicious, and I would highly recommend it. Last but certainly not least, we're going to be making a 1-pot vegan jalapeno mac and cheese with homemade breadcrumbs. So this recipe is loosely inspired by a jalapeno popper, and we're going to start by making homemade breadcrumbs, which sounds intimidating, but let me show you how easy it is. You're just going to warm some oil in a saute pan, and first we'll add in our minced garlic, and again we want to cook this until it's starting to become slightly golden around the edges and fragrant. And then we're just going to add in some panko breadcrumbs and some salt and stir it for a couple of minutes until the breadcrumbs become nice and golden. Honestly, these breadcrumbs are so good. They're bursting with garlic flavor. I want to put them on everything. So even if you don't want to make this recipe, which you should want to, try those breadcrumbs out. So now for our actual pasta, we're going to warm some oil in a pan. And for our aromatics this time, we're going to be sauteing some red onion first until it's nice and translucent. Then we'll go ahead and add in some diced jalapeno, some garlic and nutritional yeast, and optional cumin. I like the flavor, but if you're not a fan, you can leave it out. And then again, we're going to toast this until the nutritional yeast is nice and aromatic and you're starting to get some brown bits on the bottom of the pan. And then we'll go ahead and add in our dry pasta. And this time I'm using a garlic flavored broth, which is basically like vegetable broth, but it's only made from garlic. You can also use veggie broth too, but I just really wanted to amp up the garlic flavor for this recipe. So then again, you're going to simmer this recipe until the sauce becomes relatively thickened and the pasta is cooked. The starch from the pasta, fun fact, also does help to thicken our sauce a little bit. But obviously we don't have any vegan cheese in the sauce yet, so we got to do something about that. That's why we're going to add in about a cup of vegan mozzarella style cheese. You could use like a pepper jack or something if you wanted this to be really nice and bursting with spice, but you're just going to stir until the cheese completely melts, which helps to thicken the sauce. And you want to let the pasta sit for about 3 to 5 minutes, I'd say, and that's when it fully becomes thickened and like a cheesy mac and cheese type sauce. So then all that's left to do is add your pasta to a bowl and top it with the breadcrumbs. I will say this one is actually less spicy than the buffalo pasta that we just made prior, because if you remove all the seeds from the jalapenos, they really don't have that much heat. So if you're more even into mild heat, I think you could totally enjoy this. Just remember to take the seeds out. And that's it, my little virtual internet friend. As always, all of the recipes will be linked down below where you can check them out on my blog, and they also have images on there where you can save them to my Pinterest page or your Pinterest page, but you can check out my Pinterest page if you want even more delicious recipes. If you want even more delicious recipe content, also make sure you're following me on TikTok and Instagram. I post recipes on there all the time, and I definitely respond to comments, questions, and DMs on there more frequently just because I spend more time on those platforms. So be sure you're following me on there too to get deliciousness in every facet of your social media existence. Other than that, I think that's pretty much all I have to say though. So I hope you're having a lovely day. If you have any future recipes, requests, or video suggestions, leave a comment down below, or you can just say hi and tell me what your favorite color is. That's cool too. I'll read it either way. And yeah, make sure you're taking care of yourself. I hope you're doing well. And I look forward to virtually seeing you in a future video. Bye.